Walter Parazaider wasn't the face most people immediately recognized when they thought about the Doobie Brothers. He wasn't the frontman standing center stage under the spotlight. But when news spread that the legendary musician was being honored with an emotional farewell by his bandmates, fans were reminded of something powerful. Sometimes the people who quietly shape a band's soul leave the deepest mark of all. And what made this tribute so emotional wasn't just Walter's incredible career. It was the realization of how much of the Doobie Brothers' identity was built around a man many fans never fully understood. By the end of the story, you'll see why his farewell became one of the most touching moments in the band's long history. For decades, Walter Parazaider stood as one of the founding pillars of the Doobie Brothers. Long before the band became a household name, before the sold-out arenas and chart-topping hits, Walter was there helping create a sound that would become instantly recognizable across generations. His saxophone, flute, and musical vision added textures that transformed the group from just another rock band into something unique. What many casual listeners never realized is that Walter's influence extended far beyond the instruments he played. Behind the scenes, he was known as a stabilizing force, a trusted friend, and someone deeply committed to the music itself. While other members often received the headlines, Walter quietly helped shape the band's direction through some of its most important years. But that's only part of the story. As the Doobie Brothers rose to fame throughout the 1970s, they became known for a sound that blended rock, rhythm and blues, country influences, and soulful harmonies. Songs that would eventually become classics carried pieces of Walter's musical fingerprints. Fans may have focused on the vocals or guitar work, but Walter's contributions were woven into the fabric of the music. Few fans realize how important his presence was during challenging periods. Like many successful bands, the Doobie Brothers experienced lineup changes, creative shifts, and moments of uncertainty. Yet Walter remained one of the enduring connections to the band's origins. His dedication helped preserve the spirit that fans fell in love with in the first place. Years later, however, life began presenting challenges that no amount of musical talent could overcome. Walter eventually stepped away from touring after facing serious health concerns. For longtime fans, it was a heartbreaking moment. The energetic musician who had spent decades performing for audiences around the world could no longer take the stage in the same way he once had. The reality was difficult for many to accept. What happened next surprised many people. Rather than allowing Walter's absence to fade quietly into the background, members of the Doobie Brothers repeatedly made sure his contributions were remembered. Interviews, public appearances, and conversations about the band's history frequently returned to Walter and the role he played in building their legacy. And then came the emotional farewell that captured the attention of fans everywhere. As tributes poured in, there was a clear sense that this wasn't simply about honoring a former band member. It was about recognizing one of the architects of a musical journey that had touched millions of lives. Fellow musicians spoke about his professionalism, his musicianship, and his kindness. Bandmates reflected on years of friendship that stretched far beyond the stage. There was another side to this story that made the tribute especially meaningful. Many farewell celebrations focus almost entirely on achievements and awards. Walter certainly had those. His career included decades of success, timeless recordings, and induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame alongside his fellow Doobie Brothers. But those closest to him often emphasized something else entirely: the person he was when the cameras were gone. Stories emerged of his generosity, his humility, and his genuine love for music. Friends described someone who never seemed consumed by fame despite living inside one of rock's most successful groups. That quiet character became a major theme of the farewell. Meanwhile, fans responded with an outpouring of emotion across social media and music communities. Many shared memories of concerts they attended years ago. Others revisited classic recordings and reflected on how those songs became part of their lives. For some, the tribute wasn't just about Walter. It became a reminder of their own memories, friendships, and moments connected to the music. The real turning point came when people began looking back at the band's history through a different lens. Instead of focusing only on the biggest hits, fans started appreciating the individuals who helped create them. Walter's farewell became a celebration of the often unseen contributors whose passion shapes the soundtrack of our lives. As the tributes continued, one message kept appearing again and again. Gratitude. Gratitude for the music. Gratitude for the memories. Gratitude for a career that spanned generations. And gratitude for a musician who helped create something that would outlive any single performance. That may be the most remarkable part of Walter Parazaider's story. His legacy was never confined to center stage. It lived in every note, every harmony, and every moment when a listener connected with a Doobie Brothers song without even realizing whose influence they were hearing. In the end, the emotional farewell from the Doobie Brothers wasn't simply saying goodbye to a founding member. It was a heartfelt acknowledgement of a man whose contributions helped define an era of music. Walter Parazaider's story reminds us that true impact isn't always measured by fame or attention. Sometimes it's measured by the lives touched, the friendships built, and the music that continues playing long after the final performance ends. And now we'd love to hear from you. What is your favorite Doobie Brothers memory or song? And do you think Walter Parazaider received the recognition he truly deserved for helping shape one of rock music's most enduring legacies?